wanted to do that the last time, but it looks like we have everything set up this time around. So basically, I'm doing what I did kind of last stream, just on some art homework now. We have an essay I have to write for the class, so it should be a little bit fun. Trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do for that essay, and luckily, it's about an artist that I like more than I dislike, which is going to be good because that'll allow me to actually write about something I'm relatively know about, relatively passionate, instead of somebody who I'm not so passionate about, such as Jackson Pollock. Cough, cough, cough. Anyway, but hopefully everybody's having a good day so far, and we'll be talking about that, and I'll make sure to catch all your chats and everything as we go on, but we'll just get right into kind of what we have to cover here. Let's make sure. Okay. Oh, that's annoying so much. Whew. Alright. Let's get focused here. Dun, 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 dun. Why is this not working? We're doing this piece. I think it'll be better to copy and paste this sucker here. Copy and paste, move this over here. Move this all the way over here. Alrighty. There's probably gonna be many spelling errors for this, but hopefully Grammarly catches those. Check out those. February. You know, this is stupid. I don't want to read this. I think we're gonna need to set this in here. Now this could probably be way off. Alright. Describe the object, subject matter as being represented. Briefly describe in 46 sentences what you were using. Facts only. Design analysis listed below. The main descriptions to the essay and the lecture notes is a list of visual elements and design principles. The visual elements and design principles are also studied in chapters 3 and 4 in part 1B. Learning module. Study the artwork you have selected and describe the visual elements. 3 to 4 examples and design principles. 3 to 4 examples found using the design vocabulary studied in the textbooks and lecture notes. Make sure that you only use the studied design vocabulary, but also describe how they are being used using specific examples. Alright. And that was what we found in chapters part 1B, learning module. Now we need to go up here. God damn it. Alrighty, let's look up at this piece. That's what we're discussing here. So we need to be discussing the line, the shapes, the visuals of what we are seeing in this picture here. Because that is going to be our picture. And notice we are slightly off on framings here. Hello Jimmy, I see you there on YouTube. Hopefully you're having a good, what is it, Monday today. You should probably be around spring break for you as well, I imagine. Just kind of trying to finish up this last homework assignment for myself. I think we'll actually keep this here. We'll move this. Oops, wrong thing. We're doing some on-air productions. Whoa. I could just make me smaller. It'd probably be better just to make me smaller. And put me right in the center. That way we can actually see what we're discussing here. A little bit off the center cue. It's a very odd settings. Because in that, welcome back again for the third time now. I don't know why, but the Wi-Fi connection decided to go out, so now we're back up. Hopefully, I wasn't sure exactly what you said there, Jimmy. I don't know if you're still here or not, but you can retype it or whatever. Because I wasn't able to see your last comment because the connection went down. But I did see that you did have a comment. But I'm assuming your spring break is probably this week. Oh, I see your comment now. Oh, that's interesting. It kept your comment. Well, that's good. Jimmy says, yo, I took an art class. I can help you. Yeah, I took so many art classes. I took an art class every year in my high school and junior high and elementary. All of my schooling career, I've had to take an art class every semester of the class, or every, whatever you want to call it. Every school year I've had to take an art class. So I've taken so many art classes, it's not even funny. And art's not a bad subject, honestly. It's just, I kind of get annoyed a little bit with art classes because I kind of like art, and I'm not really somebody who wants to study art. So it just becomes a little bit annoying to take an art class, because I find the thing that's most interests me about art is kind of like the freestyle of it. It's something you can kind of take away your own points, think about a little bit, and all of that. But with taking art classes, I almost feel, since I'm not necessarily doing it as a career, it almost makes the art class itself seem a little bit pointless and annoying. And I also am slightly annoyed from something else. So right now, I'm not in the most happiest mood. Okay, so we want shoes. Dun, 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 dun. Alrighty, we gotta look for lines and shapes. Where was it? Here it is. Let's move this over here so that, actually, we'll sandwich the two. I probably should have had a different setup here so that we can look a little bit better, but it's okay. And the thing's a little bit uneven for this because I had to redo some stuff, but it's okay. It's alright. Alright, let's see here. Actually, I'll do this. Just make it a little bit easier. Oh, let's grab it. Now, let's tone it down here. That's what we're having to talk about. My Van Gogh piece. Well, technically she forced us to do a Van Gogh piece. Luckily I actually like the artist, so it's too much of a problem, as I was kind of saying in one of the earlier versions of this stream, but alright. For this piece is very standard Van Gogh. Actually, I always put Van Gogh. That's because I've always spelled it that way. But we're gonna spell it the correct way, even though I'm pretty sure you could spell it whatever way you want. And we probably need to put his whole name too. But I think we can shorten it later in the essay. But we need to at least put the full artist name a couple times, and then we can probably short it to Van Gogh or Vincent. Space name Van Gogh with was it Starry Night or Starry Night for his more famous piece? I want to say it's Starry Night, but we need to make sure we spell that right. For his more famous, probably his most famous, I would say, Van Gogh piece. His flowers are pretty famous too, but I think you just ask the general person on the side of the street, they'll probably say they know him most from the Starry Night piece here, because that's probably his most famous Van Gogh piece, at least that I can think of. Like, I think of his flowers right away, really, because I just am weird like that, and it's just kind of something. Even when I was in like 7th grade, was it 7th grade? 6th grade, maybe. Let's see, probably 6th grade, but let's just say 7th grade, because why not? There was this art teacher I had, and one of the first pieces that I actually remember doing, because I was actually kind of passionate about it and wanted to do it, and I really liked the art style, and I was just kind of into it, I guess you could say, was the Vincent van Gogh when she introduced us, and we had to do a piece from Vincent van Gogh. And I picked the sunflowers of his work, and I painted those sunflowers. And I thought they actually turned out pretty well. And even though I did it in like 7th grade, it's still probably one of the best pieces of art that I have done in my career of high school and junior high art classes. I think that it's something I actually really enjoyed, and I thought turned out very well. But kind of what I'm saying, I think most people know Van Gogh from his Starry Night piece more than they necessarily know Van Gogh from his sunflowers or from his self-portraits or whatever concept you want to go on from there. Because Van Gogh did actually have a ton of self-portraits, which was kind of interesting. Jimmy says, you want to see my essay over Sandro Botticelli, if I can read. I actually like this chat box. I just think I need to make it a little bit bigger for me in the next time and shrink it a little bit and adjust it. But I actually like this. I think this is going to do well for future streams. But yeah, I mean, you could definitely send me the essay for sure. I wouldn't mind reading it. I'm sure you probably did a pretty good job because I know you actually like history and you like art pretty well. So I'm sure you did a pretty good job with it. So I'm going to go this piece of Starry Night. Teddy did in the mental hospital. See, the weird thing is, she's gonna want me to have sources for everything, and I'm gonna go back and add those sources to it. I don't want to get too bogged down in details right now, but I'm going to go back and add those sources. But I know a lot of this information off of the art classes I did. I knew that he actually performed his Starry Night piece in a mental hospital or asylum, or whatever you want to ultimately call it, because he was not doing too well when he started that piece and everything. Van Gogh is actually a really interesting person, and there's a pretty good video also about it, about him, because a lot of people believe that he took his own life, and of course you have the conspiracy theories and everything, and I'm not sure if that is entirely true or not. But there's been some recent claims about it, and I'm not so certain that you could ultimately say that that is what happened now. I don't think that that's how you spell hospital either, but we're gonna spell check this later. So these, and you're gonna share it to the Google Docs. All right, that works for me. Orange and brown. If I can spell tinted tile. Tile. The shoes themselves look to be house and or the dress shoes due to their brownish yellow tint, along with the laces. You don't know my email, Jimmy? I thought you would have known my email for sure. Yeah. Let's see. 1 second, I'll get to you in a sec. I just want to make sure we're spell checking this somewhat common as we go through this, because I don't want to have to spend hours editing this after I finish. You did this essay while in Lone Star? Yeah, you took that art appreciation in Lone Star. This is the same course, just at SFA. And I actually might be taking some summer courses in Lone Star, depending on if Lone Star decides to approve what I want to do. Because right now, it's not looking like they're going to want to approve kind of the classes I want to take at Lone Star without taking a course before it, a prerequisite course, even though SFA approved me having taken another class. So it's a whole big mess right now about the classes and what's going to happen there. So I'm pretty annoyed so far, I have to be honest. Pretty annoyed. And I also had a biology lab course, and as I was trying to meet with the advisor on Lone Star, I ended up missing the Zoom for that class, and she marked me off, and there was a quiz. So now I got marked off for not attending the class and not attending the quiz, or doing the quiz, because she had a time limit on it. So now I have 2 zeros for something that's pretty stupid, just because I was trying to meet with an advisor at Lone Star. So that's fun. We need to talk about texture a little bit. We're kind of already talking about the texture. The texture of the laces are smooth, yet look to have been worn several times before due to the bending and worn out look to the laces and overall shoe. But you still haven't answered my question. Are you having spring break this next week, or is your school doing something different? Because I know that like all Texas schools are, but I know you're doing online for school out of state, so they may have something different. But I don't think it's going to be drastically different. So. See, they look to be bent, kind of right here. Well, I probably should use my cursor. They look to be bent laces. They got some hints of reds, it looks like. And the shoe itself definitely looks to be like a dress or house shoe. I want to say they more look like dress shoes than house shoes. Yeah, I want to say they have a more dress-like appeal than a house-like appeal for sure. Yeah, and they look to be on some tile. I'm not sure what these lines are there for. I think it's more just an artist effect. I don't think it necessarily has a practical effect. Unless of what he's trying to convey, not very well, I don't think, is the light. Because the light of, if this were to be a picture, I guess you could say, because paintings are, good artists in paintings will still show light through what they're talking about for the piece. But the light looks to be coming up from here, and it's brighter over here too, so it looks like it's kind of coming from this direction. And you see the dark spot in between the two shoes, because it's where the shadow is going to be. And you also see the shadow extension under this shoe, what's covering the sun, therefore there's a blank spot. Obviously, that's what shadows are. So I think that this may be a over dramatized shadow of the shoe. I don't really see how it could be anything else, because it definitely doesn't fit the colors of the tiles. So I do think that that is probably just a extra version of the shadow of the shoe, is kind of what my guess is, because you can also see inside the shoes there's not too much light once you actually get into the shoe physically, and not just like around the shoes here, more inside the shoes. You can see that it's much darker. So that's what I think he's trying to go for there. And Jimmy says, check to see if you got it. Let me see if I can find it here. I don't want to share my email to everybody, just to make sure, because I don't really have a, I guess I could use a email I don't really check very often, but we'll see if it's sent over here. Yep, I see it. I see it. One second here. Computer's gonna run a little bit slow because, frankly, the Wi-Fi is pretty trash. Becoming masterful in the art of painting, artists have been famous throughout the years. Alright, let's pull this up here. I actually like this playlist. For instrumental music, this is not bad. This is not a bad playlist at all, really. Because Twitch is pretty harsh with copyrighted music. YouTube is too, but I think YouTube's a little less strict about it, I guess you could say. But let me tell you, Twitch will knock you down. I know some streamers and stuff get around that copyright issues for YouTube, or for Twitch, excuse me. But I don't really want to take the risk, because frankly I don't know anything too much about the laws. Not that I would necessarily get in trouble, it would just be more videos not being able to people to find it and whatever. But frankly I like instrumental music, so it doesn't really bother me too much. Alright, here we have Jimmy's essay up on screen. We're just gonna let it load up a little bit more before we can look through it. Because like I said, the Wi-Fi is pretty trash. While we wait for that, I'm gonna throw this away. Alrighty. So here we got Jimmy's art history. How many pages is this second? 9 pages? That's impressive. 9 pages. Oh yeah, I know this piece. I think this is a very famous piece. I didn't know that was by him. Yeah, I didn't know that was by him. I think I recognize this one as well, with more of the religious oh, Jimmy, if you think your grammar is bad, you have no idea. My grammar is 1000% worse than you, trust me. You don't have to worry about that one. You got the biography. But yeah, I definitely recognize this piece. I think there's several renditions of it, if I'm not mistaken. I think that there's been at least like 3 or 4 different types of this piece that I've seen, and I believe it's all from the same artist, just different kind of interpretations of it. Many artists do that, so that seems to be a common theme there. Yeah, so you got 9 pages, looks like double spaced. I'm trying to find this piece of crap. Oh, we need to go to part 4. Could you not? This teacher makes it impossible. I thought it was part 4. Where the hell is it? It's getting confusing. I'm trying to find her curriculum real quick for how many paragraphs she wants to essay, because I know it's not going to be... Excuse me. I know it's not going to be as long as your essay there, Jimmy, and then we're going to look at it. I'm not trying to avoid it or anything. I'm just trying to get back to her her tab where she had the requirements. But she makes it very hard to navigate. Don't think it's gonna be on the quiz. So it's not there. Let's just do this. Where the hell? Alright, I got a better idea. Okay, we'll go back to Jimmy's essay here. Becoming masterful in the art of painting, artists have been found throughout the years, blah blah blah. With such skill, the mindset of artists is being shown with the art itself and what they are painting as a result of creating masterpiece of arts. Recognition for their skills as a painter. One person artist is Sandro Botticelli. Similar to Leonardo da Vinci, Botticelli became prominent in Florence since he acquired his skills due to becoming an apprentice to his instructors. Just as Leonardo da Vinci extracted his skills from his instructor, morphing his own style of painting, Botticelli did the same thing. After extracting from all the knowledge that he could acquire, he would later explore and enhance his skills due to having freedom. Freedom of not being an interpreter. If you could go to Lone Star, take Ashley Sheffield. Is this for art or what is this for? I'm trying to take the damn teaching math course. But, whoo, yeah. Okay, as a result of creating masterpieces of arts, some artists have been famous and have been given recognition for their skills as a painter. One perfect example, oh, we already read that, oops. Not knowing whether he became famous in his paintings, Botticelli had finally been given recognition for his art. After so much criticism and being overshadowed by Renaissance artists who were also trying to become well-known artist figures. But destiny had different plans. Ooh, that's fancy. For Botticelli and his paintings, scholars who study the art have had to analyze and interpret the history of famous artists. Luckily enough, Sandro Botticelli was in that category. Giuliani Carlos, who was an Italian artist but was involved in politics, published several art appreciation. Yeah, I'm taking the art appreciation now, so I don't think I'm going to need another one because my degree plan only requires really one art appreciation one art appreciation course. But that's awesome that she has a 5-star rating. I think I actually saw that, because if she's at Montgomery campus for Lone Star, I think I actually saw that, because I was going to take it at one point just to have extra classes. If somehow I can't get this teaching math because the school's being a little bit, I want to use a polite word, a little bit annoying, I'll probably take another course over the summer just to get some more stuff done. Because frankly, I just want to get college over with. Even though I just kind of started college, I still want to finish it quicker than slower for sure. We'll read a little bit more, see what Jimmy's got to say here. In his book, Giuliani revealed to artists that Botticelli's backstory paralleled to Leonardo's history and how Botticelli was around way before Leonardo. Stating that he looked up to Botticelli as inspiration in his life. He also mentioned in the book that Botticelli paintings showed his progression as an artist, showing to readers that every time he painted a painting, it would always be looked over by other artists until a small breakthrough of hope was created due to painting the Primavera. What's oddly bizarre is artists who are always criticized or been denied by experienced painters seem to be neglected by them, and because of the drive for improving motivations and becoming artists who center themselves to be equals or even surpass the criticizer. Many publications have been published due to understanding this setback. For example, an article published by Colin Cruz wanted to go in-depth in the story of Botticelli as an apprentice to his instructor of Filipino. I think I'm saying that wrong. Lupi. We'll just say Lupi. Or Lippi. Cruz acknowledges that Botticelli was distinctly affected by Lippi's views of visible creation, stating that Botticelli became influenced by it, using it as a template to formulate his art style, which would be created later in his life. One more paragraph. Due to Botticelli's having the liberty of exploring his as an artist, in which he painted many paintings, however, none of them were successful for him. He was stuck as a predicament of whether to continue being an artist or to give it up entirely. He would no longer be ashamed for his skills due to the painting the Primavera, which offers people to admire his skills in the painting. Not only Primavera was a success, but it offered him closure and a sense of relief, ending his depression. I do have to say, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good essay for sure. And this was the Primavera here, wasn't? Oh, this was. Yeah. I know both of these, like I was saying earlier, and this one's, I think, very, very famous. And these were your references, yeah. Yeah, this is actually a pretty good essay, I have to say. The teacher I'm doing is definitely not this type of essay for sure. I would probably like that essay better, especially if she let you have an option to pick what artist you wanted to do or artist you wanted to do, because the teacher did not give that option for me. So I'm a little bit stuck with having to do Van Gogh, and that's why I was trying to explain at like the first stream, because we had internet problems, but we're back up now. But anyway, as I was saying at the beginning of that stream, I actually do like Van Gogh a little bit, so I'm not entirely annoyed having to write about Van Gogh like I would be if I had to write about Jackson Pollock. But I would rather have had the opportunity to pick an artist rather than have to be forced to do something, especially when it comes to art, because whenever you're forced to do anything in art, it almost seems like it's the counterintuitive to what art is supposed to be, you know. So I'm not sure if that makes any sense at all, but that's just kind of the perspective I have on that. So I'm a little bit annoyed that I'm having to be forced to do a stream or do a essay on Van Gogh, but at least I do like him as an artist. So we need to talk about, listed below are the directions of visual elements. Design principles are studied in chapters 3 and 4 in part B of the learning module. Study the artwork you have selected and describe the visual elements, 3 to 4 examples, and design principles, 3 to 4 examples, found using the design vocabulary studied in the textbook and lecture notes. So we need to go back and go to part B so that we can pull up the design principles and make sure we haven't missed anything yet. So we got color, we got line shape, and we need principles. It looks like those are principles. Color, texture, motion, space, mass, all those keywords there. Now we'll go back to look at the thing we have to talk about, which is this piece here. I'm going to talk about this sucker here. So as I was kind of saying earlier, it seems to me that this is a shadow of the shoe, so we're going to definitely have to talk about it being a shadow of the existing shoe. Looks like the light is coming from this direction and a little bit up here as well, because you can definitely see the shadows in between the shoes as well as the shadow that's underneath the shoe, because it's obviously the tops of the shoes are blocking the light, as I was suggesting earlier. These lines here are a little bit interesting to me because I'm not exactly sure what their purpose is besides just being something Van Gogh liked to do, as I was comparing to his Starry Night, that is probably his most famous piece by anybody who thinks about Van Gogh. And you can kind of see the similar type of wavy motions that are in his Starry Night as compared to the shoe picture that we are talking about for my essay. We'll wait for it to load so we can get a little bit of a detail as to what I am kind of talking about here. But yeah, I don't know if you're still here, Jimmy, or not, but I might read the I might finish your essay after I finish mine, because I actually do like what you were saying. It was pretty good. I'm not a spelling wizard, so I'm not sure if you had any like major spelling errors or grammar errors necessarily. I do think some of your sentences may have been a little bit too long, and maybe teachers might consider them a run-on sentence potentially. But I mean, I don't think that those are anything bad, and I'm just saying I don't necessarily catch those things as a lot of other people sometimes catch. But I definitely think that was very well written. I do like the history you were kind of saying. It would be interesting to read some of your analysis as to the pieces you picked and kind of like the language you used there as well. But I'm sure you probably got a pretty good grade, probably A or high B. I think a high B would have been a little bit of a low grade. And you say there that is a shadow expression. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just know that it's, yeah, I use Grammarly actually. I actually have it up on the tab, or I did. I think I went out because I had to restart the stream, but I did have Grammarly open. And I definitely plan to use Grammarly for sure, because it's a lifesaver. It is definitely a lifesaver. I've already used it probably like 100 times just this semester alone for all the discussion posts, because I'm in 3 8-week courses right now that are ending this week, and this is one of them here with the art appreciation. So I've had to do tons of discussion posts and tons of assignments and tons of kind of essays really. But yeah, so I definitely have used Grammarly. But yeah, you're saying it's a shadow expression. I do agree with you as well. So let's move these together here so we can go back and forth. So you can see his lines in the tiles, more so on the right side than the left side. What I mean by that is you see your harsher line movements are thicker line movements as compared to his more thinner kind of title expressions on this side of the picture. Compared to this, you see the shadow, and as I was kind of saying with his Starry Night, he uses very broad strokes to give emphasis on where the light is and where the light is not. So I think that he is simply just doing that to the right side of the shoe compared to the left side to show you in a very easy way where the light is coming from and where the light is not, because he loves to do that with really all of his paintings. It's very much Van Gogh's style of paintings for sure. You can see the waves of this. I think you can actually see it really well right here as far as the line movements of the shoes, kind of similar paint strokes. But you could kind of see it up here as well. But yeah, he has that. He uses that a lot, if I could speak. When are we going to collab? That's up to you, my friend. That is up to you. And I need more content. I haven't done anything for like 9 days. And when we had the snow day, I did something every day besides like 2 days. I live streamed like 5 times in that week. And then I had to do a whole bunch of stuff this week. Last week. So I didn't stream at all last week. I streamed yesterday. And I'm streaming today, obviously. And on spring break, I'm probably not going to be streaming for the first couple days. And I might stream a little bit towards the end of spring break week. But since I'm dropping classes, or I'm not dropping classes, since 3 of my classes are going to be done, the 3 8-week courses, I'm just going to have 2 full classes left to do. I'm going to have a lot more time on my hands to do more content. So I plan, so far, fingers crossed, my plan is after spring break to at least have 3 streams a week and 1 video at least every other week on my YouTube channel, and that video be something that's actually like produced and edited, not like my documentary video, because those actually take a couple months to make, and it actually turned out really well. I'm very happy with that, and I've actually gotten some pretty good feedback from my documentary analysis I did, and I might do something like that over summer when I'm taking those classes, if I'm taking those classes and whatnot. But yeah, fingers crossed, I plan to stream at least 3 times a week after spring break. But we could definitely collab. I'm not sure what we're going to collab over now, since mostly all the political stuff has kind of switched topics a little bit from what we were going to do beforehand. But I'm sure we can find something political if you wanted to do that, or something more cultural if you wanted to do that as well. Because I know at one point we were talking about doing something about Star Wars, so I'm up for really anything. I'm just not sure exactly what you were interested in. And actually talking to 2 other people as well to do something with them. So I'm actually planning to interview and do some collab shows more that I have an actual, good setup now, and I actually feel pretty confident in what I'm able to do. Alright, let's get back to actually writing here. Let's talk. Let me see if we talk about, what's the third part we painting, oil painting, bronze, Skillshare paint. Discuss how the art media influences your observations considering the work you are evaluating. Interpretation. Combine the information. And the assumption is it work? Why do you think he did it? Judgment. Judge whatever the artist have been successful at communicating his idea in the work of his art to his audience. In other words, do you think the artist used the visual elements and design principles to make the artwork successful? So line, shape, texture, color, light. Yeah, we got to talk about light for sure. I didn't stream to YouTube yesterday, so you missed it if you're just watching on YouTube, Jimmy, because I was just testing out my Twitch setup, because I'm trying to get more of a Twitch-like setup, because if I'm starting to live stream more, I think it looks better to have it set up that way, kind of like a lot of Twitch streamers do. It just looks more smooth, easier to follow, everything like that. So I was just streaming to Twitch yesterday when I was doing that, just to make sure everything was good. And now that I've kind of figured it out, I'll be able to what's the words? Stream to all platforms like I'm doing now. Jimmy says Mortal Kombat 2021. Have you it? The trailer. I have not watched the trailer now of Mortal Kombat 2021. Left side of the shoe from the top left corner of the painting, as seen as the titles below are lighter. The tiles then become increasingly darker as it moves further from the original light source. Lighter, darker, lighter, darker. Even though all the titles are pretty light, so it's not a huge difference between where the light is coming from and where the light is not coming from. Looks like the music has stopped, so we'll go to my next playlist that I have ringed up here. A little bit different of a genre, but I figured we would have two different types here. more of 3D necessarily. The shoes, at least, are slightly more 3D. Only one person's watching your video. What happened to the other people? That's called YouTube's actually been very weird. YouTube, I used to have a lot of people quite frequently go to my live recordings of my videos, or live videos, so not really recordings, but lately I haven't had anybody show up on my YouTube, regardless of when I do the live stream, which is very bizarre. I was thinking my link was probably broken, because it wasn't sending out the notifications or something like that. So it's very, very, very bizarre what's happening on YouTube as far as that goes. I've actually had some pretty good feedback on Twitch, and that's why I've kind of starting to focus a little bit more on Twitch than YouTube. But I still stream to both because, you know, I'm small and I like to anyway, because I'm able to get different people. But I think it's mainly because I was inconsistent. I think the more consistent I get on days where I upload, or at least 3 times a week, the better it's going to be. Because then I'll start to actually like show up on people's feeds, instead of when I am streaming like once every week or once every 2 weeks, where it just is too inconsistent. So I don't know what else to say. I think we need to talk about the shoes a little bit more here before we move on to the next part. And we can always come back and add some more details if we need to. But I don't really know what to say besides the light's coming from this direction, as seen by the shadows here. We definitely need to talk about this. I haven't really talked about this part yet. We got the darker spots here. Which makes me think that he's trying to emphasize that a little bit more. But if you look at the color progression between everything, it's not necessarily that different in color tones between the whole piece. Obviously your eye goes to different parts, like this color is different than this, and this is different than this, and this is different than this. But there's not a drastic difference. It's not like red is next to purple, and purple is next to white, and white is next to black. There's not a drastic changes of colors throughout the progression of the piece. It's more subtle, but you can still see that there is definitely progression between where the light is coming from and where the light is lessened by more of shadows from the shoe, or where the light is kind of farther from the initial source. Kind of like a light bulb. Right after the light bulb is going to be brighter, and as you get further and further away, the less bright it overall becomes. So that's kind of the effect I see here, and I do think he is showing that in his piece on the right side of the structure, as I've said before. By the way, if anybody does have a non-copyrighted song or a playlist that you like to listen to, you could definitely link that in wherever you're watching now, and I'll play that as well. This is just some stuff I came across that I relatively liked. Did you see CPAC 2021 today? I watched a few highlights of CPAC yesterday with Trump's speech, because I was interested to see what he was going to have to say about all this craziness that we live in, partly because of him, obviously. And I don't really have much to say about all that. Honestly, it's good for both sides, because for one side it gives people something to talk about, gives people hope. For the right side, you know, gives people hyped up, gives people thinking that Trump is gonna come back it serves that purpose of the spectrum. But then it also serves then it also serves the can I speak? It also serves the purpose for the left side of the aisle, where they have something to talk about now, because Trump is a lot more fun to talk about than Biden is. Let's just put it that way. So they were able to talk about his speech and talk about Trump and have Trump in the news once again, rather than having Biden or something else that's more kind of boring in the news. So for both sides, it gave them something to talk about. But does it have any sort of impact? Nope. No impact at all. Dude, am I the only one watching? Don't nobody want to share their playlist? Well, do you have a playlist, Jimmy? You can type it whatever you want, as long as it's YouTube mainly, because I don't have Spotify up right now. Like, you can share your stuff if you want. Nobody's stopping you. I don't care who's watching. Nobody's gonna really stumble upon a homework stream and want to watch it, probably. It's not exactly like I'm talking about something super fun. But mostly people join these homework streams to do their own homework. It's kind of an interesting thing. And you can ask me whatever you want. I do have AMA up on the screen as well, just if you want to talk about something for anybody who's watching on wherever else. But ooh, that actually gives me a good idea. Oh, this may not be smart. Nah, we won't do that because it probably won't be a good idea. We'll do it the next time now. I forgot to send out a post about going live, so that's probably not helping either, because nobody necessarily knows unless that they have followed the page that I am live. And sometimes even if they have followed, it doesn't necessarily give you the notification because of whatever glitch in the system or whatever, or something like that. So that is also a hurt why nobody is necessarily here. But I'm more just doing this because it's a little bit more fun writing an essay and listening to some instrumental music and just kind of getting into the feel of it on stream than writing it not on stream, because it can get very very tiring and boring. Jimmy says, I suggest you find a comparison photo of the Vincent van Gogh shoes done by another artist who painted the shoes also. I'm not really sure she's looking for a comparison, to be honest with you. I don't think it's a bad idea if for writing the more interpretation part of the essay. I don't think that is a bad idea at all. But what she wants in the essay is not really a comparison between artists, but rather a essay about the artist piece and everything related to it. But when we get into the interpretation, where I can add my opinions and everything to it, and not just more of a analytical eye, but more of my interpretation, I might compare it to, like you were saying, his shoes, or maybe the Starry Night, as I mentioned earlier, because I do see some similarities, but obviously there are differences between the two pieces if I want to compare it to another Van Gogh piece. But we'll see. So we got the third part now. Describe the specific type of art media for the artwork you are evaluating: oil, painting, bronze, sculpture, silk screen, and the art process Associated with the artwork, you are evaluating using the studied art media vocabulary from chapter 6 through 14. And a part 2 learning module, discuss how the art media influences your observations. So now we need to go to part 2 here. Yeah, because she has a very detailed way she wants this essay to be written. That's why I like your essay a lot, because you were able to kind of compare and do your interpretations between the two artists, give your perspectives of everything, and go from there. But that's not really what she's ultimately wanting in the early parts of the essay, but we can definitely get into that when we get into the interpretation side. Okay. Van Gogh painted several still lifes of shoes or boots during his Paris period. This picture, painted later in Arles, advances a unique return to the earlier motif. However, here Van Gogh has placed his shoes within a specific spatial context, namely the red tile floor of the yellow house. Not only may we identify the setting, but perhaps the owner of the shoes as well. It has been suggested that the still life of old peasant shoes may have been those of Patience Escaler, whose portrait Van Gogh executed around the same time, late summer of 1888. So that's just some initial details of the particular painting, but this is what we're mainly looking for here. Through the medium, it's oil on canvas, which I thought it was. So we need to write about that during the Pacific. We're going to talk about the designs of it. I kind of already talked about this. Got a little bit ahead of myself. Let's run a spell check real quick. I think I did that, but I want to at least get this. Yep. Thing relatively known. Also, hello, whoever is watching there on Twitch. It says I have 2 people. Not that I'm necessarily calling you out or anything. You don't have to chat if you don't want to. I don't mind at all. But welcome, and hopefully you're having a good day. We're going to put this in the fridge real quick. Alright. I do not like writing sometimes, I gotta be honest. Just got a notification in my thing. Are you in my Discord, Jimmy? I can't remember or not. Because my Discord's been going crazy the last couple days with the questions of the days. Because we have somebody who's more on the left-leaning style of politics. And then we have someone who's very much on the right side of politics. And we had a question that got everybody up in arms. And now they're talking about the claims of voter frauds and all this still. And then I had a question yesterday about education and if people thought the United States education needed to change. And that got some replies as well. So my Discord's been very, very busy compared to what it usually is. Our YouTube playlist is getting a little bit funky. This playlist actually does fit the style of the painting, because you can kind of think of a Western and you look at this image. I actually think it kind of works very well. Yeah, you're on Discord where you turn off the notifications. Yeah, because if you didn't turn off the notifications, you would have had legitimately like 70 notifications just from the question of the day in the past like 3 days. Like they have been chatting a whole bunch on there. And usually I haven't had the questions of the days for a long time because I just kind of got burned out of the whole thing. But yeah, Discord notifications can be very annoying because it will notify you literally on everything. It's not like you can turn it off just on, certain people or things. You have to turn it off either by the entire Discord server, or you have to turn it off on the Discord channel itself. Being like, if you don't want to get notifications on the meme channel, you just turn that channel off, but you'll get notifications on everything else. Or you have to turn the entire channel off, blah blah blah. So yeah, Discord can be ruthless if you're following channels that you don't really want to have notifications from. Yes, I know, I thought it was you. What, me messaging you personally 70 times? That would be a little bit of a restraining order coming my way if that was the case. That would be a little bit obsessive. Alright, what was we doing here? Describe the Pacific media, which we already kind of did. But I don't want to start the sentence with like. What word can we use besides like? We'll use most. I think we could start with most. I'm probably gonna have to change it though, because I don't really think that that's a good word to start off the sentence, but it's alright. That's a good question there, Jimmy. Jimmy asks, did you lose your power during the winter storm? The college actually was pretty good for the most part during the winter storm. It started on Sunday, or was it Monday? I can't remember now. But whatever day it started, for a good about 4 days, we had power and we had water. Then we lost water pressure, and it was a mess because there was no more water from the fountains or bathroom. So there was no showers, no bathrooms, no nothing. And they didn't have anything else to use at that point, so people were just going into the toilets, so that was rather fun. Before they brought in porta potties. But we only lost power at this building for about 3 hours across an entire storm, and then we had power throughout the rest of the days. My parents lost power for several days, and you're relatively close to where my parents live in the house back home, so you probably lost power for a couple of days as well. So yeah, we didn't have anything like that here on campus. We had a few buildings that lost power for, I believe, a couple days. But some of the campus, or most of the campus buildings did have power the majority of the time. Very slow to drive. Ooh, shoot. You didn't lose any power. Oh wow, that's fantastic. I don't know if y'all have generators in the house, or if you have a generator at all, or you just didn't lose power. Because I know a lot of Texas did lose power, and like I said, my parents lost power as well. And hello, band. Okay, what's up? I'm doing alright. How are you doing? Hopefully you're having a good day or night or morning or wherever you are from. We're just kind of doing an essay here and talking to some people up on YouTube as well. I'm trying to get through this essay because, to be honest with you, I do not want to write this thing at all. But I have to finish it, and I had some other problems this morning that had me miss something that I thought was scheduled for something else, but the teacher's a rascal, let's just put it that way. So now I'm going to get some unnecessary zeros for this class because she is a strict person. You say Republican leadership failed Texas? I don't think Republican leadership... How do I put it this way? If you're saying it was... Okay, I get what you're saying. I immediately when you said that, I was thinking about elections. I don't think you're necessarily talking about elections. I think you're talking about the storms. I do think that the storms and how Texans were managing it was not very smart. And to be honest with you... with Ted Cruz leaving, that is just the most stupid you can be. Because Ted Cruz is obviously somebody who is from the right side of the spectrum, believed to be someone who's relatively smart, somebody that is a constitutionalist, somebody that believes in the core American values, and he's obviously politically smart. So the idea that he thought leaving Texas during the time of a huge blackout and winter storm was a good idea doesn't make any sense at all. And honestly, anybody who's trying to back up Ted Cruz and say that what he did was good or what he did was justified or whatever word you want to use is complete bullshit. So... I don't get it at all. And Greg Abbott, like you were saying there, blamed green energy for the blackout. And I think there's a little bit of a mixed... Texas is an interesting state. Let me put it this way. Texas is an interesting state because Texas runs on the ERCOT energy sector. And ERCOT is just in Texas and a little bit of Mexico, and it is not anywhere else compared to the two other major energy sectors that we have. So, because Texas has wanted to become independent and not have to rely on mass government to provide its energy, ERCOT was basically justified in believing that they had enough energy and enough power to even support a mass blackout, and that's what they told the government and everything, and it was an outright lie, as we obviously have saw. Now to talk about Greg Abbott being the governor of Texas, and Ted Cruz talked about it a little bit, but you have to understand that there's a difference between the representatives that represent you federally, do Senate and through Congress, and the government that represents you locally through your individual representatives and state government, being the governor. And in Texas, the governor has a decent amount of power. And the governor blamed green energy for a lot of the blackout. And I'm going to talk about two things with the green energy. One thing about the green energy is a lot of people were talking about... A lot of people... I'm going to pause this for a little bit because this is actually a good conversation. A lot of people were talking about... what was I saying? Okay, let me say two things about... And then I'm going to get to your comments there because... two things, though, I want to talk about here. Greg Abbott was blaming green energy, and I saw a lot of people come out and basically say that all Texas had to do was add this one feature to allow for the windmills and solar plants, or mainly windmills, because there's no solar when you have massive clouds, but anyway, to allow windmills to operate in the cold, because obviously in northern states, windmills are able to operate in snow. And all it took was one feature. Now, if you talk about a business state perspective, a state budget, adding that one future and maintaining that one future cost a whole bunch of money. And Texas only has 12% of its energy sector, as I see, as Band says there. And I'm going to get to your comment, no worries. Only has 12% of their energy sector as part of green energy. So, if we were to make a business decision to do that, it doesn't make sense from a state budget wise, but it also doesn't make sense from the other side of it to blame green energy for what happened, because it doesn't make up enough a percentage of the energy sector to allow for what happened. So in long story short, what happened with this entire thing is Texas being a little bit crazy, wanting to be fully independent on the energy side, and you can blame it on Republican leadership, and I don't think you are entirely too wrong, because Rick Perry and Governor Abbott are the last two governors, with Greg Abbott being the current governor, and they have both been Republican, and have both been involved with ERCOT and the strategies behind it as well. But Greg Abbott is investigating ERCOT now, so you have to give credit to where credit is due, in that he is at least doing an investigation to ERCOT. So hopefully there are going to be some changes in that. Now I am going to read your comments here. Sorry I've been avoiding them a little bit because I just wanted to get what I wanted to say out, but I'm going to read your comments here. No generator. In fact, neighborhoods like Fox Run and Legends Ranch are parts of Bender's Landing, and in Imperial Oaks are completely lost to power. Well, that's interesting. Jimmy says he's super pissed with Ted Cruz. Band says he falsely blamed green energy for the blackouts, like I was saying. Jimmy says he texted his wife ahead of going to the storm. Yes, he did. All the wife text messages were leaked, and I don't necessarily agree about all the text messages being leaked. I don't think that was a good idea, because there's several problems that can happen from that. If any extension, so okay, let's put it this way: if it was Ted Cruz's text messages getting leaked, I would fully agree with it, because he is a government person. But his wife text messages getting leaked is a little bit suspicious, but I'm not going to really get into that because that's a whole separate debate. But I definitely don't think what Ted Cruz did was smart at all. And then, like Van said, well, in fact, green energy is only 12% of Texas energy, and Republican leadership voted not to install cold weather provisions on windmills. That's actually what I was saying, so that's interesting you brought that up as well. They also neglected global warming. Ted Cruz said he wouldn't believe in global warming until Texas froze over. Yeah, that was funny. A recent tweet came up about Ted Cruz, where he was basically making fun of the concept of Texas freezing over, and, well, it has. So I thought that was actually very funny. Texas leadership was arrogant and failed to see how the weatherization the windmills could be a problem. What largely caused the power outages were the frozen gases stuck in their pipelines. Yeah, okay. Well, I forgot what I was going to say there. The interesting thing is, I would like to know the cost of what that one future to winterize the windmills was. Because if Texas was to agree to that cost and to maintain that future, what would the overall cost be for everything? And I'm not entirely sure what that amount would be. And I'm not necessarily saying that is a bad thing to still do, because energy is important. Energy is an important concept as well, but I would like to know what the cost would have been to do something like that, because I think it would be interesting and really prove your point, or at least cause a little bit of a debate. Because if it was relatively cheap just to add that one future, I think that it would make no sense to why Texas did not. So it would be interesting at what that cost was. Band also says, and those that had energy received thousands of dollars in energy bills. That is what happens when power companies meet unregulated capitalism and inept leadership. So, Band, I have a feeling that you are not a capitalist. Not that is a good or bad thing, but it'll be interesting to know if you're an anarchist, or if you're socialist, or what your values necessarily are if you are anti-capitalist. I think that would be rather interesting. And you don't have to say if you don't want, but it'll be interesting to see kind of the perspective you are going for. Oh, I am for sure a capitalist. Oh, okay. Didn't mean to mispoliticalize you, if that's a word. I have no idea what I am, to be honest. I think that capitalism has good features and bad features, but I'm still kind of learning on the whole political idea. I don't think any party is working for anybody, so I have a little bit of anarchism in me that I don't necessarily believe that the Republicans or Democrats are working for the people and more just working for themselves, and the idea of government, at least now, is just way too big. So I have a lot of those perspectives as well. But I also think that capitalism can lead to opportunity, but it also can lead to lots of problems as well. Band says, but capitalism needs to be regulated in order to protect the interest of the people. Yeah, capitalism, I think, definitely needs a little bit of a change, or at least a little bit more reductions on mass corporations. Because I do think that we need to support more of our local businesses, give more funds to our local businesses, support our local businesses more than we support major corporations like Amazon and Walmart. So I do think that that is something good, and something we really need to be focusing a little bit more on. But yeah, in general, I do agree a lot of what you are saying, Band and Jimmy. I definitely think that that is a major part of the issue as to what is happening. I don't know if you have a Discord Band or anything. Yeah, I don't know if you have a Discord or not. I'm going to put the Discord server down just in case if you have Discord and you want to join once it loads up, as it's being very, very slow. No, we don't want that. But I would also appreciate a follow if you don't mind. Obviously, you don't have to give a follow if you don't want to, but I am trying to grow a little bit here, and I definitely would be interested to hear more of your opinions about what your approach or what your idea to government is. Oh, you are follow. Well, thank you for following. Yeah, well, thank you for following. I wish it had a badge of who follows. I know it has badges for subscribers and everything once you get to affiliate, I believe. And I'm not at affiliate yet, but I wish it had at least something to let you know who's a follower and who's not. Maybe it does, and I just don't have the setting for it, but I appreciate the follow. I followed a week ago or something. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, cool. I appreciate it very much. Yeah, I haven't streamed since last week, so my brain is also a little bit lost in not streaming, so I don't recognize names as much as when I used to stream pretty regularly. But like I was telling Jimmy earlier, I do plan to start streaming after spring break, which is next week, at least 3 times a week. But we're going to go back and start our music, and feel free to share what any ideas you have or ask me any questions if you want. I'll definitely try answering them. To discuss how art media influences your observations. Yeah, but I'm in college, so I'm by myself here in my dorm, but we don't have any snow anymore. That was all last week. So all of that, well, is it last week or last 2 weeks? I'm getting lost in time right now, to be honest. But yeah, the snowstorms have passed. Nothing bad's really happened for me because the college has covered anything that happened in buildings and whatnot. But my family had some broken pipes, including a pool pipe that broke, or a pool pump that broke, that they're going to have to get fixed for the pool, and they got their house pipe fixed, so there's nothing bad there. But they had a few pipes burst and a few kind of other house problems from the snowstorm. But nothing really relatively bad happened for me here, so that's good. I attend SFA, or Stephen F. Austin. That is where I am at now. I do live in Texas, yes. And Jimmy says you follow too? You followed on YouTube, or you followed on Twitch there, Jimmy? I know you followed on YouTube for sure. And is the volume good on the music for you guys? It should be playing the same volume back in my ears, but sometimes I can't necessarily hear what I'm speaking compared to the music. So, oh, both? Well, thank you, Jimmy. I didn't see a notification for Twitch, but I believe you. Maybe you were. Yeah, I believe you. With let's pull up a bigger picture. What would y'all call this color? It's not yellow. I want to say it's tan. Is kind of the color I would say. It's a tannish white, if anything. But I don't know, like what color you would call that. You can kind of see it a little bit here as well. But it's very much like a tan with a bit like a very small amount of orange and maybe yellow and white. Obviously a lot of white, because I think it started from this color and they brought it down to here, most likely. But it is definitely, if I had to pick just one color, not say like tannish brown or tannish orange, or tannish white, if that makes any sense, I would probably say it's just tan. That's the color I would say it is, but I'm not particularly sure. Pell? Actually, Pell's good. I think I'll use Pell. That's a good... I like that. Because I think I've used tan before already. Because I think I said tan was the darker color on the shoes a little bit. I would say are more like a tan brown, like right here. So I like Pell. Pell's good. because it's almost skin. Like if you painted this up on if you were if ugh, I can speak. If you put this color on a human or on a painting to represent a human, you would probably say that that is skin toned type of color. So I think pale actually works pretty good. Where do you live, Band, if you don't mind me asking? You obviously don't have to say if you don't want. I definitely don't want to pressure you into saying where you live if you wish not to say. But I think if I remember right, you were not in Texas? Let's read back here. Most of Van Gogh paintings are oil canvases and includes this one as well. This allowed Vincent the opportunity to work on paintings through multiple days. As well as your paint also allows for layering of the tile to mark and or highlight features of the painting. This best can be seen through the right side of the painting through the orange and red contrasted colors. The left side has more brown tinted with highlights of pale. So now we need to talk about the design of this. It's a very simple design. You see a lot of the Van Gogh lines here. You see a lot of extra contrast, I guess you would say, for above the shoes. That's almost just white. It doesn't even really have any other color but highlight of a little bit of white there. It looks to be in the center of the painting. At least that the heel of the shoe looks to be in the center. So it's not doing the rules of 3 necessarily. This shoe is on the 3rd line. If you go down here, you got the middle. And then you got the 3rd, where this ends. If I'm kind of seeing it right, at least that's where he's kind of pointing me from my eyes visually throughout this painting piece. You got your lines there. It's where kind of everything is drawn to. We could talk a little bit about that because he does look to put the left shoe on the lines of 3, if I am seeing this all right. I'm never gonna spell his name right. Gough. Ah. Yeah, this is a regular essay, not a research paper. Yeah, Jimmy, this is just a regular essay. If you go back to here, I just have to follow her paragraph layouts. And once we get into interpretation, we get more into where I'm able to add my own kind of opinions based off of everything. But now we're more into just an analysis. So almost you're taking a third person critique of it. So you're almost kind of looking at it from an objective lens, I guess you could say. You're not trying to add your opinion to the piece yet. But it's just on this piece. There's no research to anything. Yeah. Yeah. I might have should have put this in the art channel. Can I do that live? Nah, we'll just stay here. It's alright. I was going to change the category for Twitch because there is actually an art category, but usually people aren't writing art essays, so I figured I would just be in the just chatting category, but it's okay. Either one's alright. Let's see, what else can we say about the design of the piece? Probably should talk a little bit about the insides of the shoe. We haven't necessarily talked about that yet. We talked about the very beginning, me thinking that these are more dress shoes, are walk-around shoes. And then we read a little bit from where we're having to get the piece from. It should be here. That they are peasant shoes. So I wasn't necessarily wrong. I'm not going to change what I put there because that was my interpretation of what I saw. But we probably need to talk a little bit about the insides of the shoes there. Got the highlights here. The drawings here. You know, his pieces almost looked rushed in a lot of ways. Because you can see there's a lot of just random line movements. It's not like a Jackson Pollock, where you just have utter chaos and then you call it art. But it's almost very spastic spastic style to it compared to a more like well thought out structure to it, which makes me think he almost has a very rushed paint strokes, I guess you could call it. That's the best way I can think of it as right now. And I'm not necessarily saying that that is a bad thing by any means, but... So like you have Jackson Pollock, where basically it was splatter paint art, and it was kind of it's a major art movement, really. A lot of people tend to like Jackson Pollock, but it's almost organized chaos or total chaos, depending on your perspective of the actual art. And you compare it to Van Gogh, where you have these lines that are very spastic looking, like they don't necessarily have a purpose, but yet they do. They don't necessarily seem totally random as compared to Jackson Pollock, where just an average person looking at it looks like every line doesn't really have a purpose or anything. It just looks total chaos, total randomness. There's no order to the piece compared to, say, Vincent van Gogh with what we're having to write about here. But you could still say that some of his strokes don't necessarily look like they have been pre-planned and are organized to fit that perspective. I'm not sure if that makes any sense at all, but that is kind of my kind of what I'm seeing from this piece as well. But we have to talk about some designs here. I'm not really sure. Not really sure what else to add for design. Crown. Let me see. Is that reds inside the shoes, it looks like? There's even green. I'm not sure what this color is right here. It looks like a gray. It's almost a grayish green, I would say. Grayish green, dark green. You have blacks, you have browns, you have reds, you have golds, I would say. That's probably more of a gold right here. You have a white spot, literally a white spot. You have almost like a purple rather than like a total black here. You have like almost a tan green coming up the lines here. You have yellows around the entire seam of the shoe. And you have blue splatter up on top with the white over the top of it here. Red. I think I said that. This is like a velvet brown. It's almost like an acrylic purple color here. Acrylic purple. Tan. Let's see. Let's see if we can't highlight this shoe. It's not gonna let me scroll up, so we'll just have to see it from this angle. But it looks like it's almost like this is bare canvas, just like very, very lightly painted over. Not even so much to add any color to it. There's obviously some color because your eye does pick up on it. It's not total whiteness or tannish tan color of what the canvas would be bare. But it's not necessarily super colorful and super bright like this shoe that doesn't have any gap in canvas or any gap in color. There's total color everywhere. There's no blank gaps compared to this here that almost looks to be very, very, very lightly painted over. And even the shoe over in here is almost just all brown, with a little bit of green and a little bit of that like tannish green that's like almost undersaturated. Then you have up on the outside of the seams is black, which is actually interesting that it's black, because you would think if you were showing the angle of the sun as it is showing, that these would be yellow and this would be black. But I think he switched it to add some contrast between the two shoes, because it would look a little bit weird having it total yellow, because it would almost add your eye going just to this shoe and not to this shoe, and I don't think that he necessarily wanted that. So I think he kept this all kind of one tone compared to this shoe for sure. What do we have next? I think we're going to save that for our interpretation when we talk inside the shoes. Dun, 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 dun. I want to say that was the end of the playlist. Gonna get a drink real quick. I'm sorry to get thirsty. And feel free to ask anything, Jimmy, or whoever's watching. I see that there's a few people. You can ask any questions you want. I would say good artists intended viewers to look at many details that they're painting. If we're talking about the average artist, they more want the entire piece to look good, and they're not so much focused on individual parts per se. But when you talk about a good artist, someone that actually cares to give perspective and to give values to their piece, there's many parts that you can have much closer looks to and be able to come up with insights. Because when you take this shoe and you go back, right, you see that there's some color changes. Now, before we went in and looked inside the shoe, I thought that this was all kind of one color tone. You could tell that there is some difference in color, but when you have a very close look inside the shoe, and you're almost getting like a microscope to the painting, you can see just how many different tones of colors, or hues of color, just whatever word you want to use, he had in the painting. So it's very interesting. And you can see the shoe itself. The shoe is almost not one color. There's very few spots where you can see like a blob of one color. It's more just kind of lines dashed together that make up the shoe itself. So it's very interesting. Jimmy says, to give you your perspective and interpretation, what did you give up for Lent? I added one thing for Lent. I added trying to read a little bit of the Bible before going to bed each night. I haven't been doing so super well, but I'm trying to get more to the habit of making it a habit, making it something I do every night. But for the thing I gave up directly, I guess I gave up two things. One of them, I gave up two things, is to put it this way. One of them is I gave up sweets, and the other thing is I gave up the amount of time I spend on the phone, which may sound a little bit weird, but I wanted to put a time gap on it to prevent me from being online through my phone so much. So it may seem a little bit weird, but I do think that it is going to help in a lot of parts. Not sure I really explained it too well, but those are kind of the two things that I gave up there. We are going to have to find another playlist here so that we can keep going. So if you have a playlist all pulled up, you can definitely send it my way. If not, we will have to find one so that we can listen to some good music here. What did you give up for Lent there, Jimmy? And is your church going in person? I know that the church I go to back home is in person, but I'm not sure if your church is in person, because your church is a lot bigger than the church I go to. So I don't know if they have kind of like strict guidelines, or if you're just watching their virtual masses or whatever it would be. You gave up carbonated drinks. That's a big one for you. No more sodas. Woo! That's a big one. Let's see. Since we are waiting for that, I didn't know we would go. I had another one pulled up, but when I switched the streams and everything, it decided to cancel out all the links I had, so I had to pull up all the links again and start the stream again because my internet decided to bug out. So I forgot to pull up this last playlist that I have, because I plan to go for about an hour longer. And if I haven't finished the essay then I'll just finish it outside of the stream. But I wanted to go till about 5:30, which is, again, about an hour from now. It'd be about a 3-hour stream. Actually, a little bit under 3-hour stream. But we are going to get this next playlist pulled up. Jimmy says hybrid. I'm not sure what you mean by hybrid. Oh, I get what you're saying. For the church. I get what you're saying. Yeah. So do you alternate weeks? Or how does that necessarily work? Because I could see if they would separate you to, let's say, like groups by maybe like last names or something, where you can show up for this week, or and then next week you watch from home or something like that, where they alternate. Because I do know that the churches have to play by the CDC guidelines and have to be a lot more strict than you would think. Because frankly, the college I'm at now does have to follow, CDC guidelines and Texas health guidelines, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it is super strict by any means compared to churches, what tend to take it a lot more seriously than, say, the school. And that's probably because they're dealing with a more mature crowd than just college students themselves. They're dealing with a lot more of an older crowds that are more vulnerable to getting COVID, compared to college students. And plus, college students sometimes just don't listen to rules, so. We'll see about this playlist, see if it's any good. Jimmy says, no, they space us out. The mass skips a row, then the next row has a few people. Oh, okay. Okay. So you just attend in a hybrid fashion. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think every church does the skip row method. I know the church back home does the skipped row method, and you only can sit in your family, and you have to be a certain distance apart relatively in the pews. Now, pews aren't exactly super long, so if you have a family sitting on the other side, you're probably not 6 feet apart, but they're trying to at least be conscious on that to follow the guidelines as best they can, excuse me. And the church here at SFA also does the skip row method. But the church is very, very small. At least the church that's in walking distance is very, very small, Catholic church. So sometimes they have to expand the amount of rows that they have. We'll see if this playlist is any good. What's wrong with you, music? Alright, we're going down to interpretation now. Combine the information found from the description, design analysis, and art media analysis. Consider why the artist made a certain decision considering the imagery, the visual elements, the principles of design, and the art media used to create the artwork. Examine how this affects the content of the work. Discuss the symbolism of the individual objects, subject matter, and their possible relationships when creating an interpretation for the artwork. Students should consider the following questions. Does the title of the work suggest what the purpose is? Does the work tell a story or a theme? If so, what? Why do you think the artist created the work? What emotion or mood do you feel when you view this work? What are 3 things in the artwork that represent other things? Symbols? Symbols? Is there any symbols? Symbols? Do you have any symbols, Chippy? Symbols? I think I'm actually going to write a little bit more before we get into this part, because I do want to talk about the insides of the shoes before we get into this next part. I wasn't sure where I was going to include that as a subject, but I think we're going to include it in this paragraph because it makes more sense before we jump into this next part. So you see in between the shoes. It's amazing just how much color there actually is in the shoe, because from a far distance you can definitely tell that the shoe has multiple colors, but it doesn't necessarily look like there's a red or deep purple, almost purplish black spots around the shoes. Because when you go from a far extension, I mean, yes, you can see it now that we know it's there, but ultimately your eye mainly goes here, or maybe like in betweens here of the actual shoes. It's not going to go to this random spot unless if you have a very artistic eye and you look for those things in the shoes. But once you actually know it's there, you can see it, but your eye doesn't really go to that. But it still makes the shoe look like the way the shoe looks, and it kind of adds that very artistic feel to what's happening. So I think that is very interesting. But do you like this, Jimmy, doing these like study streams? I actually kind of like it, I'm not gonna lie, because it does keep me more motivated on the task, especially for something I don't necessarily want to do. It is a little bit distracting at some points. May take longer to do assignments, but I might do a study stream like once a week on just because on something that's maybe a more interesting assignment that I have, because I do think they're kind of fun. This is the first time attending one. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily super informative on study streams. I know there's a lot of study streams on Twitch, and they usually have a timer and have like their homework assignment here, their face here, and some stuff over here. And then they study for an hour, and then they talk for like 10 minutes, and they study for an hour, and they talk for 10 minutes, and they're on like Twitch for like an entire day. Because they're just doing work or whatever they're doing. I'm not sure I'm ever going to do something like that, but I kind of got my idea for doing something like that on more interesting assignments, and I thought this was one of the more interesting assignments I had. So I thought, I was like, you know what, why don't I try it? Oh, that's interesting. What class is that for, where you're having to write that essay over Medicare? What class is that for? That also sounds like a very interesting topic, because Medicare in the United States and in other countries is something that's always debated, but United States Medicare is atrocious. It's pretty bad. I think everyone agrees it needs to change, just there's disagreements on how we need to change it. English. Really? You're having to write that for English? Huh. Did you get to pick the topic? Did they let you pick a topic, or did you have like topics to choose from? Did you independently pick it? Like, how did that happen? Why do I keep wanting to say show instead of shoe? Need to move this over here. I keep moving my computer. Stay. Okay. Also starting the sentence way too much with D. Uh-oh. We're starting to get the circle of death. Oh, this chair is so uncomfortable. Jimmy says, university writing, is that a 1020? My class is over medical humanities. Crazy, right over half of the class isn't even studying to become a doctor. And you have to take that for your degree plan? That seems very bizarre and very high level. Like, if it's a class that doctors have to take as a prerequisite to like a medical class, it seems very, what's the word? I don't know why you would have to take that. That seems very, that seems like a very detailed class. I think my computer just froze. Yeah, it just froze. I don't know if you can still hear me or not, but right now the computer is in a frozen state. So I'm just going to let everything kind of load up and catch up, and then we'll continue on here. And hopefully it didn't end the stream or anything. Looks like we're back up. Sorry about that. Hopefully we are still live on Twitch. If not, we may still be live on YouTube, so I can still talk with everybody there, as Jimmy's kind of the only one that is chatting right now. I'm going to let everything kind of load up here. Yep, looks like we're back up. Sorry about that. Looks like there's something in the Wi-Fi of the school. It's a writing course. So you're telling me like this medical class is also a writing course, okay? Seems a little bizarre, but I've seen worse things before. Yeah, I've seen worse things before, I guess you could say. But yeah, that does seem very odd. Let's end some of these that we don't need anymore. Cause we kind of got. I've actually heard this song before, or this instrumental before. I actually really like this version. But I'm kind of a weirdo that I like instrumental music. So Jimmy says it was the only. Damn, computer crash. It's gonna take a little bit to load up on my phone, and I can read your comment there, Jimmy. But I'm assuming you're probably saying it was the only writing class you were able to take. It was the only English class that fit into the schedule. And yes, I can hear you. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, so that makes a little bit more sense, but that also does seem very intense. There might be a little bit more of a buffer now that we had a delay in the Wi-Fi again, so I may be a little bit ahead of you as far as when you're hearing what I'm saying. Maybe a little bit more of a delay. Usually it's about 5 seconds, so now it may be more about like 10 or so seconds. Trying to think of another word to use besides the, so that we can change it up a little bit. And she's not always reading the word the. And also on Twitch here it says the connection is unstable. So thank you, Twitch, for stating the obvious there. Just thinking here. What can we use besides that? That was a weird transition. You have this very dramatic music, and then you have this very calming, relaxing bedtime music. That is very funny. Oh, Twitch says the connection is excellent now. We're all good, guys. We just almost died. Okay. What other words can we use besides the? I don't want to start it with the. I've always had a problem with this. What other words can we use? Let's see. Well, are you at least finding the research you need for the writing class, Jimmy? I know that there's I'm kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say friends, but I know a doctor who's in for basically the internship part of being a doctor. He's not necessarily a full-blown doctor yet, but I know he knows a lot of stuff about Medicare and medical policies and things like that, and as well as information to like scientific journals. So if you need to, I can always ask a question for you to him, or give him give you his Discord or something, and you might be able to message him, and he might be able to help you out if you needed help with some of the more research side of things. And he would probably help you out. He likes helping people, and he has access to all of these medical journals for free and everything, so he would be able to help you out in that way. I'm just gonna put. 1 second here. I'm getting a call and I need to answer this. I will be right back. Hopefully everybody doesn't leave. But we'll be back. Alrighty, I am back. Have to take that call. Trying to figure out if I can get any credit towards that assignment so I don't get a 0 for it. Because it's kind of ridiculous that she was gonna give a 0 in the first place for the one thing, but I guess it just is what it is. Jimmy says here, okay, I might consider it. To be honest, I don't know any of my classmates in all of my... Okay, I might consider it. To be honest, I don't know any of my classmates in all of my classes. Okay, yeah. Yeah, just let me know on Discord, and I can probably send you his Discord tag or ask the question for you, whatever you would want. But I'm sure he would be happy to answer your questions. Or at least give you a source for you to read yourself, and if you have any questions, you can contact him for questions. And I'm sure he'd be perfectly fine with that. He's done it for other people, so. I forget what I was trying to say here. Oh, I remember now. This isn't the art teacher that gave me a 0. This is my biology lab teacher. She is extremely strict. You have to do things very much her way. And I was trying to register for classes for Lone Star, and I was in their virtual portal thing. And it took a long time for me to see an advisor there because I had a very specific question, and I had to see like a top advisor that could answer the question for me. So I was waiting there for a long time. My biology teacher, because I'm in a biology class in a biology lab, canceled her class, so I thought I had plenty of time. And I looked to make sure I wasn't missing anything, because usually it gives me a notification if there's an assignment due, and I didn't have any notifications. So I thought I was good. And later I get a notification saying I have a 0 for a quiz and for an assignment that I didn't see and I didn't think was due, because usually all of her due dates are on Friday. And so I have no idea why she did that, and why she had her Zoom class on Monday when she usually has her Zoom classes on Wednesday, and she didn't notify me that she was going to have the class on Monday. So I don't know what to do really, because it doesn't make any sense at all. And so we have to do these labs, right? Okay, so we have to do these labs, and she has very how she wants the labs done. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it really. So this is the first part of the lab. I have to wait for it to show on the screen to see if you can actually see what I'm showing here. There's going to be quite a delay before I can actually see. But given that you can see it, so I have the name on top there, right here. There's a name. And then I have to have it in colored pen. It has to be in colored pen. And then I have to photocopy all of these sheets. I have to photocopy this and send it to her as a PDF or Word document, as a photocopied version. So you have to sign in colored pen, and then you have to have it photocopied, and it has to be on both pages, right? So you have that. And then, just in case you were curious, we have to do a lab manual along with that. And this lab manual can only be found at SFA. It's not a college lab manual or anything. SFA basically made their own. And she is having us do the same thing in the actual lab manual book, as I have to sign every page where I answered the problems. And then I have to photocopy these in color so that you can see that I signed it in a colored pen. So she is extremely particular, and if you don't photocopy it in color and send it to her, it's -10 for each page. So if it's -10 and I forget to photocopy the lab manual, that's 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages on the last lab manual I had. And that's just the lab manual alone. So that would be -30 points on your grade. So the top grade you can get is a 70%. And if you forget to photocopy your exercise sheet that goes along with the lab manual, you have now dropped to that's 2 more pages. So you would have dropped all the way to 50% as your top grade. So she is extremely particular on how she wants things done, and if you don't do it her way, she's very happy to take off points. And everybody I've known who has taken her class, or took in her class, whatever the word is, taken I think, has said that they have had the same experience with her, and that she is not necessarily a good teacher at all. So I'm just a little bit pissed from that, because I'm not the type of person to miss assignments by any means. I actually want to get good grades. I don't want to get bad grades. And I try to work as hard as I can to get good grades. And it wasn't like I purposely missed that assignment either. But she's going to be the type of teacher to not budge any, and I'm probably going to have zeros for both of those. Jimmy says, dang, bad professor, give her a bad review on Rate My Professor. Oh, she already has a bad review, Jimmy. She's got like a 2 on Rate My Professor, I believe. I believe it was a 2 or a 1.5 on Rate My Professor. And I do actually use Rate My Professor, but that's a whole nother story. Because the lab manual is only for SFA, she is the only teacher that teaches this class as a lab. So you only can take her if you're taking the class at SFA. So you're kind of stuck if you want to take this course at SFA. I think you possibly could take the course and the lab at Lone Star, but you would have to take both with Lone Star. It wasn't like you can do one and then the other. So you're just kind of stuck. Sheesh, I've forgotten how you write still bad as ever. What do you mean? I mean, if you're talking about grammar, my grammar is terrible. But I actually have written a ton of essays in high school and everything. So I don't actually think the essay itself is necessarily bad, but grammar is always what I get knocked off for, and spelling errors and things, because dyslexia is not very friendly for that. And I'm not also extremely particular, so matching me not being super OCD or super particular with having a learning disability, it doesn't necessarily yield to great results when it comes to writing. But the content I always think is pretty good, and usually I get pretty good marks on content and get good grades based off of that. and get deducted for spelling and grammar. That's what I'm talking about there, because you can see the texture of the canvas. You like my writing style? Well, thank you. I think my writing style is very matter of fact. Like, I don't really tend to add a lot of, like, very long words or fancy words or anything like that. I think I just write very straightforward. Like, what I think and what I see is what I write. So I don't think there's really any, like, fanciness to it. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. And it's not like an engineer either, where I'm just writing, like, steps. So it's a joke. Take it as offensive. Nah, it's not a joke. You like my writing style. I know you do. It's okay. You can admit it. We are on interpretation now. And I'm also writing way too much for each paragraph. So I'm either gonna have to edit it down before I send it off, or it's just gonna be a little bit longer. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. I do think I've repeated myself a little bit in some parts, so I can definitely edit that down once I kind of take a break from doing the essay and go back and look at it. I don't need any assistance on this essay. It's very different. Your essay and my essay are two completely different things because the teacher's looking for two completely different things. It's much more of a critic's view than an interpretation view or a research view. So, I don't necessarily like it that much either. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this live, so that I can make it a little bit more enjoyable as I'm trying to write this, because it's kind of taking anything that I like about art out, because it's just so boring. Like, there's no fun about doing this type of essay. But now we have to do this again, so I'm going to reread it so I can be refreshed on what I have to write for this next part. By the information found from the description, design analysis, and art media analysis, consider why the artist made certain decisions concerning the imagery, the visual elements, the principles of design, and the art media used to create the artwork. Examine how this affects the content of the work. Discuss the symbolism of the individual objects or subject matter, and their possible relationship in creating an interpretation for the artwork. Does the title of the work suggest what its purpose is? Does the work tell a story or a theme? What do you think the artist... Why do you think the artist created the work? What emotion or mood do you feel when you view this work? Are there things in the artwork that represent other things? Symbols? Oh, hello there, Ron Helton. I'm assuming that's on D-Live there with your... Oh no, it's Trovo. Hey, so Trovo did link up. That's good. I'm happy that Trovo linked up with Restream. I was trying to figure that out. Yeah, because I'm kind of annoyed with D-Live, actually, because long story short, I was really growing fast on D-Live, and then, because I was getting like 2 followers every stream, and then I've capped at 7 followers, and I haven't gained any followers despite still streaming on D-Live every stream on my podcast, and when I was active, and still didn't get anything. So they must have not liked what I've said, because staying at 7 followers for like at least 20 streams on D-Live is kind of impressive. And just in case you just joined there, Ron, we're doing, I'm doing an art essay on this piece here by Vincent van Gogh. We'll zoom out here. Called Choose. I know it's a pretty simple name. And we're having to write a essay about it on my art appreciation course. And right now we're in the part of interpreting what we see, and we have to answer these questions here. And then we can get into the judgment phase, which is going to be our last paragraph. So I'm kind of just writing this stream and talking, and you can ask anything. Jimmy's been pretty active here, asking questions and making fun of me. But I know he's jealous, so it's okay. Ron Helton says D-Live was buffering too much. Yeah, D-Live is falling down. Yeah, I was actually really happy when D-Live first came out, because I was kind of pumped up. Because like I said, when I first started on D-Live, gaining 2 followers a stream was really good. Because I didn't see growth like that on YouTube at all. Like, I'm at like 63 subscribers now on YouTube, if I remember right. And I've been live streaming and making videos on YouTube for a while now, and so my growth on YouTube hasn't really been that well, mainly because I'm inconsistent, and YouTube thrives on consistency, so I'm hoping to improve that a little bit. But even if you talk about Ed from Freedom Scoop, he streams every day on YouTube, Twitch, and Trovo, and all of these things, and his YouTube growth is still very slow compared to a lot of other, YouTube content creators. So I just think YouTube's just kind of hard to grow on for the type of content that we are doing. But anyway, as I was saying about D-Live, I was really happy when D-Live first came out, and then it just crashed, and then it had its whole thing about the X tag and all these other things, and so now I'm just kind of depressed. So maybe Trovo will grow fast, because Twitch isn't exactly super fast either, even though it's been its best growth as far as live streaming. And I actually do like live streaming, so more than kind of individual videos, even though individual videos sometimes do better, but it's whatever. But yeah, that was very long rant about D-Live there, but it's okay. Does the title of the work... Seems like the title of the work is Shoes. So does it relate to what we see on the painting? I think so. I mean, it's very generic. And these are also... I hate these questions. like I'm saying, it just makes this art so boring. Like the whole part about art being fun is that you're able to kind of make up your own mind about things. As soon as you have to make art about writing essays and things, it doesn't make art fun. Nobody really wants to do that unless you're some sort of how do I say this? Some sort of wacko that thinks he knows everything and is contemporary and is somebody who's refined, somebody that's going to live in California. Then you might like writing essays about art. But anyway. I just rammed that. Ow, that hurt. Whew. Ron says it looks like a floor in an old cottage or farmhouse. We can actually pull this up. I believe it's here. It was in a... well, we'll just read it again. Might as well. Van Gogh painted several still lifes of shoes or boots during this Paris period. This picture painted later in Arles, whatever, advances a unique return to the earlier motif. However, here Van Gogh has placed the shoes within a specific spiral context, namely the red tile floor of the Yellow House. So the Yellow House was somewhat famous with Van Gogh, and I believe the Yellow House was a cottage house, if I remember right. So you're basically right, is what I was trying to say there. It's very much looks like a cottage house flooring or tile, and these were shoes of a peasant that they believe Van Gogh did around the same time. He did a portrait of this same peasant boy or peasant man, whatever you want to say, as the thing later went on to say. But I said earlier in my art analysis, because I don't want to steal everything, it's still your interpretation of what it is. I said they looked like either dress shoes that have been worn quite often or house shoes. That's kind of the feel I got from what the shoes looked like. Relates to the painting. Excuse me. I'm gonna check this something real quick. And by the way, I also plan to continue my novel streams after spring break, because I don't know if you just joined or not, Ron Helton, but after spring break, which is next week, so once next week is over, I plan to be doing 3 streams a week, fingers crossed. So hopefully that goes through and I'm able to do the 3 streams a week. And I hope to do once a month about my book, just to remind people about that and everything about my novel. So I'm happy about resuming that, because I actually have worked on it somewhat recently. So anyway, I'm kind of just happy to share about that. You think it's dirt encrusted? I think that's encrusted. Dirt encrusted field shoes. Yeah, I could definitely see that as well, especially the outside parts of the shoes. I zoomed in a little bit too much here. The outsides of the shoes, you see the color tones, obviously. They're definitely not brand new shoes. I mentioned that the laces earlier on in the essay look to have been regularly used, because they're not straight. They look to have been tied and untied multiple, many times throughout its life. They definitely don't look brand new. And they don't look neatly placed either. It's not like you have the shoe here and the shoe next to it. It looks like they take care of their shoes, but they're not necessarily like super fancy shoes either, because then they wouldn't have been placed on top of each other. So obviously they're shoes that can handle that, or they wouldn't be stacked in that way. Such as like they're not fancy dress shoes, as I was just saying, because then you would mess up the dress shoe. So they must be some sort of work shoe or casual shoe wear, such as like what I was mentioning about a house shoe. Anyway, that's kind of the interpretation I had, but I could definitely see your perspective about it being dirt encrusted filled shoes. We can mention that in the story part about what the story of this painting shows. Give a little bit of opinion about what it's trying to say or trying to show. That's a good idea. We can mention that because they definitely don't look new. Why do I think that the artist created the work? Well, the one painting did one analysis where I got this from, being the Met, showed that they were most likely the shoes of a peasant boy or peasant man, whatever you want to say. So it's probably gotten from that perspective of the peasant. So we know that, but I don't think I would think that these were automatically a peasant boy's shoes or know who the peasant boy was, just by the context I have alone. So I think I would have to come up with my own version of what the shoes are and what they represent. But we'll talk about the story first of these shoes. What is the story of these shoes, we think? We're gonna have to change that sentence because that sentence is trash. But I'm just waiting to get to the next question because we can go back and change that part. Sometimes editing can be easier to go back and do than to actually write what you want to say the first time around. That's why rough drafts are always so hard to do sometimes, because you're still kind of getting your ideas out and your perspectives, and then once you get into the final draft, it's almost like you're writing the paper in super speed, at least in my experience of doing papers. Ron Helton says here, they appear to be shoes that the person enjoys wearing because they are so worn or the person cannot afford to buy a new pair. Yes, definitely. They are definitely not brand new shoes. They're definitely very worn. You could see the shoe itself is worked in some areas. Probably from fitting inside the shoe. Like I know how I walk is different than probably how most people walk. It's kind of a family walk from my dad's side if you watch how we all walk. But we tend to push our right leg out when we walk. So instead of having legs like straight across, we tend to like kick our leg out as we walk. So a lot of times the side of the side of that sole gets worn out and is like slightly misshaped because that's just how we walk. It almost looks like that's the same effect that's happening with these shoes, because this shoe on the right side, at least what I've been calling the right side, looks to be fairly, fairly regular shoe. It's obviously an old shoe, but it is fairly regular shoe. There doesn't really seem to be any bends to it. It's obviously a worn out shoe, as you can tell by the laces, and where the foot goes in isn't a complete like new half circle, I guess you could say. But then when you look at the left shoe, there's a lot of bends to it. And maybe that's because the pressure of this shoe is on there and it's causing this flap to bend over. But it almost looks like these shoes have been similar to like how I do with my shoes and how they look after a while. It seems to be almost that they have shaped into this peasant's, in this case, foot. So it definitely looks like they have been very well used shoes. And I could tell that my camera is over the left side of the shoe, so I don't know if you saw my cursor, but I'm kind of showing right here that there's a lot of bends to it, and there's not really a half circle. Like, this is a more complete half circle compared to this shoe, and maybe that's because this shoe has pressure over it, so it's causing it to fold in. But this shoe definitely looks more used compared to the other shoe that looks a little bit more normal, for lack of the better words. Ron Hunton says, to me, both of them look like if I can read. To me, both of them look like they are both for the left foot. Lo, my two left feet. Yeah, they don't. That's why I kind of keep thinking that they're house shoes more than anything else. Because it doesn't look like shoes you would wear just out in the field. But yet it kind of does at the same time, just because of the way... just how dirty and how used the shoe looks. Like, it doesn't look like a house shoe would ever look like that, because they wouldn't be used that regularly unless you just wore your house shoes out shopping or something. And for like all your life, they may look that way, but it almost looks like yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, but it's like, I think they're field shoes, or at least are shoes that are worn around outside. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Ron Helton says here, I guess Van Gogh was a sloppy painter. It's funny that you mentioned that. I was actually talking about that earlier, because actually we can go back to the painting here. I was showing a different part of the piece. Oops, where did we go? Okay, we'll just pull up this picture. I was showing a different part earlier, where it's talking about his effect. Like I mentioned, these lines here looked a lot like his Starry Night picture, where it was all these lines together and they were in waves and in stars. You know, the famous picture. Excuse me, the famous picture we know from Van Gogh, and that kind of have these lines. But I was mentioning earlier that he has a lot of hints of red, or almost like a purple pink almost, going across all these tiles here. And they don't really look to have a purpose. Like, I don't see why they would be there. So I was almost mentioning that they looked sloppy and looked misplaced. And then I compare that to like a Jackson Pollock, where his lines look like organized chaos, some people say. To me, they look like total chaos. I don't really understand Jackson Pollock, and I don't know why he got as famous as he did, or still is as famous as he is, or whatever you want to say. But it almost looks like there's a lot of lines that don't really have a purpose. Ron Helton says here, I have a pair of polar bear slippers that is sometimes hard to decide which is left and right. Low. Yeah, shoes that are worn in the field will become misshaped from walking in the rows. Happens to my shoes in the garden a lot. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I think who have a different walk, like maybe I do, or people that wear the same sort of shoes all the time, if you look at your shoe, you'll see that one shoe does have a slightly different pitch to it because of the way you just walk. And shoes kind of shape to your foot and how you yourself walk. So no two shoes are completely the same. So even on just a regular basis, and not somebody who goes out in fields or goes out in gardens and uses their shoes a lot more intense, can see that effect on their shoes. Do you like The Starry Night, Ron Helton? I know that it's probably... I was saying very early on in this that I think it's probably his most famous piece from Van Gogh, even though I like his sunflowers more than The Starry Night. And I had to do a painting of the sunflowers very early on in my art career and junior high that I actually thought turned out very well. So I'm very happy about that. But that's my favorite piece from Van Gogh is The Starry Night compared to... the sunflowers compared to the Starry Night. Ron Hilton says here, I never really studied it that much, but I am familiar with it. Yeah, fair enough. I think everyone's at least familiar with The Starry Night. I couldn't necessarily say that I've studied it either. I know in the art class itself, when they were talking about lines and design for paintings, she mentioned The Starry Night as one of her examples. But yeah, it's a very famous painting. I do like the painting more than I dislike it, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's my favorite. Ron Helton also says, when I think of Van Gogh, I think of Starry Night and the self-portrait of himself with the bandaged ear. Yeah, where he cut his ear off. Yeah. Van Gogh was a very interesting guy. He almost like represents what people traditionally think about artists in a lot of funny ways, because a lot of times the type of people that become artists professionally, for lack of the better words, are a little bit crazy. And Van Gogh was definitely that. He got checked into mental hospitals. He dated a prostitute and wanted to marry a prostitute. He cut off his ear because of a prostitute. I mean, it was just craziness on his life experience. And even his death, what people believe was a suicide, does look to be a little bit suspicious. And I've read a lot of articles on it recently. And I may even do a video on it, because it is something that kind of interests me. It's more conspiratorial than anything, but it kind of goes against the average narrative about Van Gogh just a little bit. Ron Helton says here, wow, it is almost 6, have to put my hens to bed, be right back. Yeah, of course. I may be off the stream, potentially, because it is getting close to dinner time, so you may not be back. But if not, I'm going to be raiding over to Red and Ed show here in a little bit. I just want to finish this last little part before I raid on over. So I'll be over there watching their show, and people who are on Twitch can watch it with me, or you could follow their show as well. They have a very good show. Looks like our music stopped. Yep. Looks like we're going to be out of music for the last little bit of this stream, which is actually quite fitting because we are getting close to having to end here. I just want to finish this last little bit. I don't know if Ron heard me, but I'm actually gonna have to raid over now because it looks like the dining hall is getting ready to close here. Is he not on? Interesting. Alright, well, we'll raid over to somebody else. Those who are watching now, Twitch is about to end for content. So thank you everybody who was stopping by on Twitch. Hopefully I'll catch you next time. And make sure to look at my stream schedule, and I'll be a lot more active after spring break. I hope to do 3 streams, and I'm probably going to add that to the Twitch schedule, as well as anywhere where you can find me on Discord and Gilded Pages. I'm going to stay a little bit longer for YouTube and Trovo while I finish out everything. So we're going to go ahead and raid in to Demon Discourse here.
Used away as a homeless person on the voter rolls, for example. I think we have an actual voter roll example of a 0. Yeah.